We're now over into the study session part, and the first thing is, okay, is fire department. Chief Weisman.
We made a purchase of with Spark Fund money for the new monitors. I gave you a price that I believed was everything. And what they had done was they couldn't get the wireless transmitters for the packs. So they left that out of the price. And then they sent them to us and they sent me a bill. So
That's the way to do it, isn't it?
it is. So I would like to bring that. It's $1,573.20 next week.
Okay, bring it next week,
Thank you.
maybe next month. Make them wait. Okay, we're down to public lands and facilities.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have one request, and that's to do the annual installation of a cemetery burial island for an amount not to exceed $1,500.
We'll bring it next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Public Works, Justin Walker.
We have a few on here. First one is the RTK network subscription through Topcon Solutions for our GPS unit. It's an annual budgeted expense. And it actually went down in price the last few years. It was the Freedom Network and it was $2,500. And after they were bought out by TopNet, now it's only $1,650.
Okay, bring it next week.
And then 7.2 is Euclid Street School Beacon. The lights were going out and one had failed on the westbound Euclid Street Winkomatic. We got in there and they're actually the halogen lights. We'd like to replace this back to LED functionality and with new signage and a new pole. We do,
$2,100.
yeah, we do a couple of them a year. So
Okay.
we've almost done all of them.
Okay, bring it next week.
7.3 is Hardup Elizabeth reconstruction project, change order number 12 to Votes Parga construction. The Hardup and Elizabeth Street reconstruction project is complete. Change order 12 adjusts the street quantities from what was estimated on the plans to what was required to construct the project. The change order and computations are attached in the attachment, and this change order adds $52,185.83 to the approved contract amount.
Justin, that's a pretty big change. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know the details on it. I know probably a few of them, but it's going to be overrun on street quantities, driveways. It's going to be just anything on that south portion, but I don't know the details. So I can investigate that.
Can
and
we,
get
yeah, I'm
back.
gonna say,
When
can
you
we
bring
bring
it-
that next week and
Yeah, give the detail next week.
get the details and bring it next week if you would, please?
Can do.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the question we need to know, is it all street or is there some drainage? Us in finance need to know the breakout of drainage versus street.
It says it's street quantities,
Yeah,
but if that's curb and gutter, we usually claim that as drainage.
Yeah,
So I'll have to,
know that we need.
I'll have to look at that change order and see what Brad's
Yeah,
got.
why don't
for
you work with her on that and
Mhm.
get some numbers put together for us, please?
Yep, I'll get with Brad and get with Jonetta and see what the
Mhm.
breakout is and go through this attachment. So this one, 7.4 is Chestnut Street reconstruction. It's change order number 5 to Conspec Kansas Paving. The change order adjusts the contract to final quantities for an increase in 6-inch paving and 18-inch storm pipe and geogrid. The total adjustments of these items increase the contract to $2,500. Increase the contract $2,500.
Right. Bring that
And-
next week.
And this, I know where these were because I was included in these. So So the 6-inch paving's at the end of the street section, and it was a minimal increase. We just pushed it a few feet. And then the 18-inch storm pipe was the pipe at the end of the street as well to get our sewer truck to go back and access manholes. They had like 16-foot of pipe, and to make that left-hand turn, it was very short and tight. We extended it 8 more feet to make a better turn for that big sewer truck. So
Down at the south end, is that correct?
at the very south end.
Mhm.
Yeah, she'll need that kind of breakout probably
Yeah,
on that
mhm.
project as well.
Yeah, need to
Yep.
break out of what street, what's drainage.
Yep, I'll get that to you.
Thank you.
And for 7.5, this is the fluid equipment, centrifuge feed pump repair and inventory parts out of wastewater. The pin joints, bushings, and boot seals on the centrifuge pump need to be replaced. We're ordering a second set of these parts to have in spare inventory. The coupling on the drive shaft separated, resulting in the boot seals failing. This allows sludge to get into the pin joints. Sludge is very abrasive and damage the joints. So we have 2 feed pumps for redundancy, so operations have not been effective. These are considered wear and tear items. However, the failure occurred at 485 hours of runtime on the pump. Fluid equipment has agreed to a discount price on the parts, even though it's out of warranty. The 10% discount applies to spare parts as well.
Okay.
And the price,
See,
Bring it next week.
Bring it next week.
yeah, 4,100
Mm-hmm.
plus
Okay.
shipping. That's all attached.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's all I had.
All
Thanks,
right.
Justin.
Call on Nick Gregory for administration.
Okay, the first item I have, it's time to consider renewing our Healthy Connection wellness website agreement with Hutchinson Clinic. Our employees can actually go online and complete their wellness items through that website, and they'll do all their submittals through there. And this would be for the 2021 wellness year, which is November 1st of 2020, all the way to October 31st of 2021. The total cost of this wellness service is $4,500. Staff has had really a good working relationship with the Hutch Clinic and their wellness staff. We recommend that we renew and authorize payment to Hutch Clinic for this upcoming year. And we can bring that next week if there's no
Okay.
opposition.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets paid out of the employee benefit funds. Is where that's typically paid out of.
And I might say that this has a positive impact is our health insurance premiums have minimal increases while we've been doing this health connection. So there is a payback on this.
Sure.
You want to go? Is there an item?
No, I'll
Okay,
do it.
all right. The next item, I want to review the incident. It's time to review the incident action plan, briefing and objectives. There's not a lot of updates because we met 2 weeks ago and I presented this 2 weeks ago. But I want to just hit real quick highlights, and then we'll kind of get to the objectives. I'm not even going to cover all of the highlighted areas, but I'll cover the big ones. As of Friday, as of this last Friday at 5 p.m., we had 802 cases with 505 cases having met recovery by KDHE. After 5, we did get a notice that we've added some additional cases. So that brings the total to 905 identified cases with 512 having met recovery. And from 2 weeks ago, that is an increase. What we had was 428 positive cases and 346 having met recovery guidelines 2 weeks ago when we reviewed this. So that's just an update where we've come in the last 2 weeks there. I will say at the McPherson County Health Department, with the support of the Board of County Commissioners of Health, county commissioners who also serve as the Board of Health for the county on November 9th chose to move the county back into phase 2 of the pandemic guidelines. Phase 2 guidelines can be read on the county health department website. And so I'd encourage anybody that wants to see that to go online to do that. The county did revisit the idea of mask requirements and chose to move forward with a strong recommendation for the unincorporated portions of McPherson County. They didn't formalize that with any resolution or ordinance. I believe last week, but they, after talking to the county administrator, they may or may not be discussing any sort of formalization of that. The one point I would bring up is that the county discussed allowing individual mask requirements up to individual cities in McPherson County. So it would only apply to the unincorporated areas. As part of that discussion, what's happening today could be different action, but I don't know at that point what they are discussing. And then I'll kind of hit, though most everybody knows out there, USD 418 gating criteria committee met, and they moved, all schools are moving back to hybrid. And that hybrid model, they transitioned back on November 11th for that, and they will remain in that hybrid model till the end of the semester. So throughout the rest of the year, they'll basically be going through that model. I'm not going to hit really too much. I won't read through these, but you kind of see some of the updates that occurred on the social service side. They're not significant differences from 2 weeks ago, so I won't hit those. I will say that talking about some of our public response that we've made to this, we have put out some additional reminders related to masks, choices people make, and we did put some information out on the county's recommendations to move back to phase 2, and then we've created some new material. We've tried to keep it fresh and put new information out. But as a whole, that's what's happened over the last 2 weeks. When you talk about supplies as it relates to our EOC, we have ordered 4 gallons of the disinfectant solution that TJ talked a little bit about, or that you talked a little bit about, Mayor, as far as what the fire department has the capability to do. So we've ordered more of that chemical to be able to do that. We will keep our eyes close to that and make sure we can order what we need to continue to do what we need to do. The things that continue to be difficult to get are the PDI Santa Cloth wipes. Those are the COVID grade wipes that are out there, but we continue to have other disinfectant that we're using in light of not having availability of some of those things. Gloves are also continue to be a challenge, and we're getting those as we can. We've received a number of outside requests for gloves as well. So that's probably one of the big PPE supplies that are out there that are difficult to come by right now. And certain sizes more so than the others, I believe. So medical grade is what's really been the challenge. And that brings us to the objectives. If you go to page 17, you can see those. These would be the objectives from November 16th to December 14th. And I kind of highlighted the new objectives. And the first item that I think needs to be considered, and it should be considered sooner rather than later, is we should consider an interim policy to grant additional emergency COVID-19 leave for employees who have exhausted the family's first 80-hour mandated leave and also their available sick leave. And there is a draft policy, and I'm going to have Tammy come up and talk a little bit about that policy.
The federal government had come out with, at the very beginning of this, that we would issue people 80 hours of paid sick time if they either had to be quarantined or came down with COVID-19. So in the process of that, since this has carried on for so long, we've had some people that have been out 2 and 3 times over with either being quarantined or being tested and waiting for test results. We've come to a point now where some of our employees have exhausted that 80 hours and did not have a lot of sick time or vacation time built up. So we, with the help of Mr. Houston, we came up with a leave policy that would allow these individuals that have used the 80 hours to then use what sick leave they have available to them. And then they can use an additional 80 hours of time that the commission has granted them, if this is approved. And that way their vacation stays intact, so when they come back, or if they have to use that 80 hours, then they would still have some vacation to fall back on to be paid, so that nobody's losing their pay during this time that they have to be out. So that's kind of where it is.
Yeah, I would like to bring this back during the city commission session after recess so that we can make some kind of decision today. So we're near the end, but if you want to stick
Sure.
around for a few
Yeah,
more
bring it
minutes.
back as a motion and we'll.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll-
because I think, and I think what we had also would like to do is, if possible, if you guys agree to it, to make it retroactive back to November 1st,
Yes,
because we have some people that are in that situation.
okay.
Bring
Just,
it back in a little
You know,
bit.
Okay.
it'll be a few minutes.
All right.
You know,
Question, and just going through the financial aspect of this. I know the federal government offered the 80 hours and reimbursement back initially. Does this 80 hours then still qualify under this federal guideline?
No.
You're not gonna get any reimbursement for it. It's cheaper though than getting new employees.
Yeah,
So after these 80 hours, then I'm not gonna be able to count this for Spark funding, so we need.
We're going to do it in PAYCO.
Totally separate pay code, because we have to keep it separate anyway with social security.
Perfect. Yep.
okay, thank you.
That's what I needed to know. Thank
Okay.
you.
You have anything
Um,
else?
The other thing, it was brought up to my attention that it's possible we should have a little bit more discussion on mask requirements, as brought up by another governing body member, or one of the governing body members, to discuss that. And maybe I'll just hit all of the items that, or we did have some discussion on the usage of the disinfectant machines at city-owned facilities as well. That might be a good discussion for the governing body as well. As I sent out a discussion, a notice last week on some concerns. And so that I wanted to bring that up as a discussion item. And then really just anything else that the governing body wishes to discuss as it relates to any action items to COVID as well. But those were the two that I think were brought up last week.
Okay, on the first one that you mentioned, any changes to mask requirements in our ordinance, there is a choice. You have to wear a mask if you cannot social distance 6 feet. And then there are 11 exemptions. And I did not bring that form in to be able to read those off, but hearing impaired people, health issue that creates a lower breathing capacity for somebody that may have a lung issue, kids under 2 years old, or is it 5
2 is absolute, 5 is allowed.
is allowed. So, but there's 11 of them, and that is a choice. You may see someone in a store, if they are maintaining social distance, they can be without a mask. I would say that the people working in the store are going to need to have a mask because they are constantly coming before people all the time. If you are going to Walmart, and I have talked a couple of times with their manager, they are trying to encourage everyone, people coming in, wear a mask and then they take it off. Well, you're defeating the purpose to just get in and buy your good. So that's a problem there. The same with, I've talked quite a couple times with Dillon's. And we do have some people that are anti-mask. That means if you're anti-mask, you can't come within 6 feet. And when you get to checkout, even though they have the plastic shield, you should have a mask on. And they are trying to encourage. If we have a strong refusal, they have the ability to ask for a police to take care of the matter. What we have done is we will escort the person from the facility. We've also made available a police walkthrough, but we can only do that because it's private property, and it is only a walkthrough to use it as a public promotion type thing, public relation, to encourage people to wear a mask. We will not go into any place without an invitation. If we have the invitation, we can do that. And the same would be even if there was a change to do this. We're really down to the point where people have to be willing to contact other, when they have contact with other people, to do everything they can to protect the other person, but also to do this. Social distancing, the 6 feet that's about the distance where the water droplets cannot go any further. That's why 6 feet. If you want to keep a little bit farther distance, that wouldn't hurt anything. The masks are not foolproof. And I know I've got plenty of articles that say 70% of the people that get COVID-19 have been faithfully wearing a mask. But part of that is how the etiquette, and we put it on our site, how do you put your mask on and take it off? Obviously, if it's brand new or just washed, you can touch any part of the mask putting it on. When you take it off, you've got to go to the ear loops and take it off. And if you decide to put a used mask back on, you have to do it with the loops. If you touch this and then touch your face, you probably moved it to your body. It's important on a couple things. Number one, wash your hands regularly. Number two, do not touch your face. Those are hard things to do. When this first happened, I couldn't believe, as I was trying to focus on this, how many times I touched my face. Now that I'm participating on No Shave November, No Wife Close, how many times you want to touch your beard? Almost going to have to shave the thing off because I'm probably not going to overcome touching my beard. And the police chief has already cheated. He shaved his beard all the way up around his eyebrows. Okay. So anyway, you need to do those things, and those are the hardest things. More attention to hygiene and touching your face, disinfect counters. Here are two things that most of us do not do. All the time you touch your phone. You've touched a million other things, and you touch your phone, and then you touch your face. What's the last time you disinfected your phone? Wipe it off a couple times a day if you're touching a whole bunch of other stuff. The other one is when you're at the gas station, convenience store. If you want to be really safe, you do not know who touched that pump handle last. And you're probably enough closer to the time they were there that if they had COVID-19 and didn't know it yet, you pump your gas, and guess what? you get an extra prize, COVID-19 virus. One thing you can do is to use a latex glove or some covering to do it. If you don't have anything, grab the windshield towel and grab the handle and put it in and leave go. And then just do it again when you put it back. But all of those things, every once in a while, these people are disinfecting the pumps, but not enough to keep you from getting it. If you have some other thing, when you're in the big box, Dillon's, Walmart, they are trying to disinfect those carts. But once you've used that cart, you need to use the hand sanitizer before you get back in your car. Those are all things that will cut us down. I think there are three things that we are doing right now. Number one, we have some prevention. Number two, we have detection. And then number three, we have treatment. PDT. We are really good at detection if you come in and get a test. Be it the long-term test that takes a couple days to get, or the short-term one, which is still good but not 100% reliable. And we're good at treating. Look at the small percentage of deaths and how many people get hospitalized or just treated at home and get over this. We have great rate of recovery. But prevention is our Achilles heel. And, you know, it is difficult to do all these things. I can walk out of my office, I don't know how many times, and then I have to walk back to get my mask, because you would think after 8 months I would know, but I'm a slow learner. I'm still trying to do it. But the real point, I think, right now is prevention. Why do we have to get this down with prevention? We're in the time of the year, has been reported to us in past weeks, where we are going to have a greater number of strokes. We're going to have a greater number of heart attacks. We're going to have a greater number of pneumonia cases. All of those people need hospital beds. We cannot flood the whole area, and it's where it is right now. With so many COVID cases, we have no room for anybody else. A couple of those that have been on ventilators lately, there's not a bed in South Central Kansas. We have shipped them to Topeka for treatment. Not because they wanted to go to Topeka, but because that's where we have an opening. And that's difficult. So, it doesn't matter whether you believe in a mask or don't believe in a mask. Protect the rest of the community by doing what will make prevention work. That's my feeling. We do not need more rules. We need more people to follow what's already there, and we could be all right. But if you want to ignore it, we are fighting a battle that we're losing currently. And I'll go to the 4 pillars. It's one thing on physical health. That's number one. We don't want anybody in the hospital, and we do not want people to die. Number 2 is behavioral health. The longer this goes on, the more stress people are having on behavioral health. And I know that we've had some pastoral counseling and some other counseling of people that are at least open enough to talk about their suicidal issues. And we run into those sometimes on the calls we make. People have had enough. The second is economic vitality. I say this every week. I want to say it again. You need to shop local, whether you're going to the store, pick up, call down, and pick up curbside, whatever you do. Our small business people need you to buy during the Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday. This is, for many, the biggest time of the year. And if you're going to go in and the stores are going to be more crowded, guess what? You cannot social distance. So you'll have to wear a mask. The masks, besides taking them on and off correctly, that have a vent on there that escapes air are not recommended at all. So if you have one of those, you need to get a cloth mask with at least 2 layers. Many of these masks have an inside pouch, just like these black ones of the city. And you can put a disposable mask or one of these filters inside there, so you really have double layer protection and a filter. Some of the homemade ones have that pouch that you can put something inside to filter even more. Do it. How often can you use a mask? If you wear it and you have a lot of moisture, you might have to change more than once a day. But a wearable mask should be washed on a daily basis to protect yourself and others. The masks like Commissioner Weens has on are disposable. But if you have a lot of moisture, you can't use that tomorrow. But you may not, if you have a lot of moisture and you're a barber or a beautician, it may not be good for more than 1 or 2 clients. You can then, if you don't have a lot of moisture or you hardly used it during the day and it's mainly sat there waiting to wear, you may get by with 2 days. But chances to be safe, put a new one on every day and you'll be okay. These are all little things that we need to fine tune our game. My old football coach used to say this is a real simple game. You only have to do 2 things: block and tackle. You can win a game. I'm going to say COVID-19 is a real simple game. Practice personal hygiene, wear a mask, social distance, or both. Don't touch your face. And we will make some good progress. But if we don't, we'll have to have stricter rules. Some places are contemplating that because of how bad things are. But in today's world, in McPherson County, people do not like rules. They want to be able to do this. You put the pressure on us to protect all 4 pillars if you will not cooperate. So I'm begging you to cooperate. And for those of you that believe in prayer, fervently prayer, but make a firm commitment to doing all you can on the other things too. That's what we need. So, anybody want to talk about changing the ordinance?
Just a couple of things. The mayor has gone through a lot of things here and made some not necessarily new items. But I'd just like to say that the statement that was made and the statement that is being made today in a lot of places by a lot of people, it's my freedom. I'm not wearing a mask because I want to keep my freedom. I want to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, the freedom days are over if that's what it is. We need to wear masks. We need to wear a mask all the time. Businesses around McPherson, I would suggest, I don't know how we can promote this, but there's a place in Salina that when you walk up to that door, there's a sign that is 18 inches high and a foot wide that says, Mask required, do not enter. If you go to Dillon's, you go to Walmart, you go to Ace Hardware, 2 or 3 other ones that I've been around in the last week, they have 5 or 6 different 8.5 by 11 signs on the door, and it's not stressed enough that you have to wear a mask. I think those businesses need to have signs that are large, that people can see. That's the first thing they're going to see when they walk up to the door, that says you must wear a mask. At Walmart, I have to say that the people that I saw walk into Walmart that I did not know, have never seen before that I know of, they were wearing masks. We had McPherson people that I recognized walk up there without a mask on and walk right in. It's not a matter of let him wear a mask, I don't have to. It's a matter of we all need to wear a mask, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. We need to wear a mask or we're not going to get anywhere. I took this out of the Hutchinson paper the other day. It says COVID-19 may cripple Hutchinson's economy. Well, it's going to cripple it, all right. If we don't do what we need to do to get this thing under control, it's going to do it for us. Businesses are going to shut down because people have, and they have to stay home because they have the COVID-19. They've been checked positive. They can't go anywhere. And every time that one happens and you put one of them out of commission, that means that he or she is not going to go to Dillon's and buy a loaf of bread or get a gallon of milk. And now we've got 905 of them that way. It's hard telling how many of them are at a point where they cannot walk out of the house. So please, please help us get around this situation and get this thing under control. We as in Kansas made the national news with a 59% of the tests that were done are checking positive. That's not a good record to have. That's not a good name to have on the national news. But it's there. We have to accept it. But we as public can control it by just doing some small little things. Please wear a mask. Thank you.
Commissioner Mel.
Just to add to what Larry said, I noticed on Good Morning America before I came in here this morning that Kansas is now number 2 in the nation.
Yeah.
So we don't have a very good reputation. We're not doing a good job. And I know I had to do some shopping last week. I was looking for some auto parts and went into a couple auto parts stores here in town. And not only were employees not wearing masks, customers were not wearing masks. I just agree so much with what these two guys are saying. Until we take this serious, we're not going to kick it.
Yep, we have to get serious, and if we don't get serious, we can mandate it. We can have bigger fines. We've tried not to fine. We only have $10 nor court costs. Some places have up in Wichita. There are a couple of things on businesses that can have up to a $500 fine. We do not want to go there. We want to protect all 4 pillars, but we need public cooperation to get there. Please do everything that you can. If this doesn't slow down, then you leave us no choice.
That's correct.
But try to do something else. And the choice is, even though businesses struggle with these issues, they will struggle more with a mandate. And just remember, our ordinance gives a choice, and we're banking on the people to make a good choice. To protect yourself, protect everybody around you. And so we are what we are. We are flooded with churches in this phase 2 on what does 15 mean. 15 means the same thing I meant a while back. And so that doesn't mean only 15 people in the church, in my opinion. I worked with a restaurant last week. All they do is take the order over the phone or behind a plastic shield and walk the order out when you're there. And you sit there with no mask on for 45 minutes or an hour. And yet, the health department says that the employee has to have a mask to walk it out to you for 5 seconds. And some of these things, I know, don't make sense. But we will play the game, we'll do what we can. If it helps even a little bit, nothing is foolproof. And when the vaccine comes, and we will argue on the TV, best thing to do is not watch TV, but we'll argue on TV whether or not it'll be here in a month or two, or it will be mid-year. It really doesn't matter. There has to be a rollout to it, and some people will get it, some people will not. And it will complete the rollout eventually, even though we've made millions of doses to be ready when it is rolled out. So we're all three appealing to you. Please do everything you can, because if we can't get this slowed down, we'll do it. In the county action that Nick Gregory read, if they formalize that today, it was only a suggestion last week. It has no power whatsoever. If they formalize it this week and it follows what they discussed last week, it is for unincorporated areas. So are you going to wear it in your house? Are you going to wear it on your tractor? I don't think so. And who is going to enforce that? Nobody. So to me, if they didn't act today, it would be all right. And the other thing that I want to say is when the reports come out, they are for the entire county. We don't know the city data. But I can read sometimes between the lines when Bethany College says there will be no outside people visiting any activity. Well, why do you do that? Probably because you have an issue and you don't want it to get any worse than what it already is. So some of these cases could be in Lynchburg. Some of these cases could be in Marquette. Some of these cases have been in Mound Ridge. Some of them have been in Inman. I'm sure some are in Canton and Gelva. So we don't know how good we're doing, which to me, I wish we did. But we're trying to address clusters, as I said earlier today. The other thing is there may be some mandate come down. You see all these things basically do not celebrate Thanksgiving. I think that's a family choice myself. But your choice should be to protect your family and help them so when they go back out from anything you have, they're not going to infect the community. You can do that. I wish that the warm week this week was next week. I haven't looked down the road after this week on the weather, but there's lots of things you can do outside to minimize the impact on the family. And maybe the family gatherings will be smaller or not at all. But I think that's your family choice, my personal opinion. So we want you to do everything that you can do to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect the community. We talked about disinfecting machines. If the weather permits in this way through Thanksgiving, I don't know. We have not been disinfecting playground equipment, but if it's warm and people are out there, I'm wondering if we don't need to take a look at giving our playgrounds another shot. As long as we're in the 60s and 70s, there are going to be people out there to alleviate stress and do something. And so we might, I think that's a department thing. You guys can talk about it yourselves. Another question came up on disinfecting public facilities regularly. We do not have the staff to do that. I would rather see if we have to make another move, that we will shut down the community building. We'll shut down the cabin before we're going to, every time it's used, have to go in and disinfect. And if we have to shut it down, we will shut it down. We would like to get through at least the Thanksgiving dinner and hopefully then the Christmas dinner. I'm going to give you a telephone number. We always need volunteers, even if we're not serving at the tables and we're serving curbside. You put an order in, but the telephone number to volunteer to help and then follow all their guidelines is 620-755-0752. Volunteer help number 620-755-0752. Make it a safe community Thanksgiving dinner. We can do it and still meet the thing that we need to do. Is there anything else in those highlighted yellow areas that we should discuss?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Did you have any?
Anything out there that you see?
The only thing I would like to, I guess I need to find out from individual departments, from Nick and from Wayne, and how much we're using that community building and what's booked in the future, and as well as the cabin. And I will get with them and do that. I'm not going to do it now. But sometime this week, I'll get with them and do that to see how much that is being used and how much manpower that will require to keep that disinfected.
Okay.
If we can't do it, as Mayor said, then I'll be in favor of shutting them down.
Okay,
Okay,
no,
good.
and that's our course. I look what Nick sent in response to regular, every time somebody uses it, disinfecting, but he seemed to have long times before. But I think if you do that, that would be a certain thing that we feel comfortable or we don't feel comfortable.
Okay.
And part of that, that we do, when you do that, think about the community dinner on the 26th. I'll start bringing stuff in the beginning of next week. What happens to that? And if we're doing a drive-up curbside pickup, do we check the temperatures of everybody that goes in and go from there? That's scheduled to be from 11:30 to 1:30 or until the meals run out.
Mhm.
So is there a way that we could still have that even if we close the community building down for everything else?
Well, then you have to take the church into consideration as well.
Yeah,
The church that has a service in there on Sunday morning. So
right.
keep that in mind as
Right.
well.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Mel, for
Mhm.
doing the extra work on that. Anything else? Okay, didn't have anything online. I'm going to declare the study session closed and